Don't cry, Mommy. Maybe that man will help us. The little girl's tiny finger pointed through the frost-covered bus window at a tall man in a dark wool coat, standing alone on the snowy Moscow sidewalk. Her voice was barely a whisper, but it cut straight through the heart of every person watching the video that would soon break the Russian internet. My name is Anastasia Volkova, I'm 22, and this is the true story of how one freezing December evening in 2024 turned my life, and my daughter's life, from despair into something we never dared to dream. It started with tears, mine. I was sitting on the last night bus from the outskirts of Moscow, clutching 5-year-old Sophia on my lap, both of us wrapped in the only warm thing we still owned, an old blanket my grandmother knitted before she passed. My cheeks were wet, not from the snow melting on them, but from the kind of crying you do when you're too tired to even make noise anymore. That day the landlord had changed the lock on our tiny one-room flat. Again. Third time this winter. I had 400 rubles in my pocket, no job since the cafe closed, and a little girl whose shoes had holes big enough for snow to fall straight onto her socks. The bus driver had let us ride for free because he knew me, he'd seen us ride for the last 2 weeks, but even kindness has limits. He had whispered, "Nastia, I can't keep doing this. Tomorrow you'll have to get off at the last stop." So there I was, crying silently, thinking maybe we'd sleep in the 24-hour McDonald's again, when Sophia suddenly sat up, pressed her cold little nose to the window and said those words that changed everything. "Don't cry, Mommy. Maybe that man will help us." I followed her finger. A man was standing under the weak glow of a street lamp, smoking a cigarette, looking as if he belonged to a different world. Expensive coat, leather gloves, polished shoes that somehow stayed clean in the slush. He looked lonely. Not in a dramatic way, just empty. Like someone who has everything and nothing at the same time. The bus hissed to a stop right in front of him. The doors opened. I don't know what possessed me. Maybe desperation. Maybe mother's instinct. Maybe God. I stood up, took Sophia's hand, and stepped out into the snow. "Excuse me," my voice cracked like thin ice. He turned. Gray eyes, maybe 40 years old, tired but sharp. He didn't say anything, just looked at me, at us, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. I couldn't speak. The words stuck in my throat. But Sophia could. "My mommy is sad because we don't have a home tonight," she said clearly, snowflakes catching in her eyelashes. "And I'm cold. And hungry. Can you help us, please?" The man's cigarette fell into the snow. He stared at my daughter for a long second. Then at me. Then back at Sophia. "What is your name?" he asked her softly. "Sophia Volkova," she answered proudly, as if it was the most important name in the world. "And this is my mommy, Anastasia. She is the best mommy, but she cries when she thinks I'm sleeping." I wanted to die right there on the sidewalk. But the man, he crouched down to Sophia's level, ignoring the snow soaking his expensive trousers. "Sophia," he said, voice low and a little hoarse, "do you like khachapuri?" Sophia's eyes went round. "With lots of cheese?" He smiled for the first time. "A real one. As much cheese as you can eat." That was how we ended up in a warm Georgian restaurant at 11 p.m., Sophia sitting on 2 phone books so she could reach the table, eating like she hadn't eaten in days, because she hadn't, while I tried not to cry again, this time from shame and gratitude mixed together. His name was Dmitry Orlov. Yes, that Dmitry Orlov. The one who owns half the new business towers in Moscow City, the one magazines call the most eligible bachelor in Russia. I had never cared about rich people, but even I had seen his face on billboards. He didn't talk much at first. Just watched Sophia demolish 3 khachapuri and 2 cups of hot chocolate. Then he asked me, quietly, "How long have you been alone with her?" "Since she was 6 months," I whispered. "Her father, he left when he found out I was pregnant." My parents died in a car crash when I was 18. I've been trying. He nodded like he understood trying. When the restaurant closed, he didn't ask if we had a place to go. He simply said, "My driver will take you wherever you need." I shook my head. "We don't have anywhere." He looked at me for a long moment. Then at Sophia asleep against my side, cheese still on her cheek. "Then you'll come home with me tonight," he said. Not a question. I should have been terrified. A stranger, a rich man, a little girl. Every horror story flashed through my mind. But when I looked into his eyes, all I saw was sadness. The same sadness I saw in the mirror every day. So I said yes. His home was a penthouse that looked like something from a movie, floor-to-ceiling windows showing the whole sleeping Moscow, lights twinkling like fallen stars. He gave us a guest room bigger than our old apartment, with a bathroom that had heated floors. Sophia whispered, "Mommy, are we in heaven?" He heard her and laughed, actually laughed. The sound was rusty, like he hadn't used it in years. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat by Sophia's bed, watching her breathe, waiting for the other shoe to drop. Rich men don't help random women with children for no reason. There's always a price. But morning came, and the price never did. Instead, Dmitri knocked softly on the door with a tray, blini with red caviar, fresh tvorog with sour cherry varenai, and a tiny portion for Sophia shaped like a bear. He had gone out himself at 6 a.m. to buy it all. "I hope you like breakfast," he said awkwardly. I burst into tears. Ugly, loud ones. He didn't run. He just set the tray down and waited until I was done. That was the beginning. He didn't offer money right away, that would have been too easy, and Dmitry Orlov, I learned, hated easy. Instead, he offered something better, a job. "I need someone to manage the charity foundation I never really started," he said one evening, staring out at the city lights. "My mother died of cancer when I was 12. No one helped us. I always said when I had enough money, I would help mothers who," he stopped. Cleared his throat. "Who are trying like you are." I stared at him. "You don't even know me." "I know you raised that little girl to be brave enough to ask a stranger for help," he said. "That's enough." So I started working for his future foundation. From home at first, his home, because Sophia was still scared to be away from me. He turned one of the rooms into an office with a corner full of toys. He never crossed a line. Never asked for anything. Just showed up. He was there when Sophia had nightmares about the bad landlord with the new lock. He was the one who carried her to the kitchen at 3 a.m. for warm milk with honey when I was too exhausted to stand. He sat on the floor and built Lego castles with her while I worked. He learned how to braid hair, badly, but he tried. And slowly, so slowly I didn't notice at first, the sadness in his eyes started to fade. One night, 3 months later, Sophia asked him, "Uncle Dima, why don't you have any children?" He froze. I tried to shush her, but he just smiled that same rusty smile. "Because I was waiting for the bravest little girl in Moscow to come find me," he said. She giggled and threw her arms around his neck. That was the night I realized I had fallen in love with him. Not because he was rich. Not because he saved us. But because he saw us, really saw us, and chose to stay. A year later, almost to the day, he took us back to that same bus stop. Snow was falling again, just like before. He got down on one knee in the snow, holding a little velvet box. "Sophia," he said first, because she was the most important, "will you let me marry your mommy and be your papa forever?" Sophia squealed so loud the whole street turned. Then he looked up at me, eyes shining with tears he wasn't ashamed to show anymore. "Anastasia, I was the loneliest man in Moscow until a little girl in holy shoes pointed at me and said I could help. You both saved me. Marry me." Let me spend the rest of my life making sure you never have to cry silently on a bus again. I couldn't speak, so I just nodded, crying the happy kind of tears this time. We got married in spring, under blooming apple trees at our dacha outside Moscow. Sophia wore a crown of daisies and carried the rings. The foundation we built together now helps thousands of single mothers, real help, not charity that humiliates. Jobs, apartments, kindergarten places, legal support against landlords who think poverty is a crime. And every year, on the anniversary of that night, Dmitri takes us back to that bus stop. We leave a hot meal and a note for anyone who might be cold and desperate. Don't cry. Maybe someone will help you. And if they don't, we will. Family Orlov. Because that's what we are now. A family. Born from a little girl's brave heart, a mother's tears, and a lonely man who decided kindness was stronger than fear. So if you watched this far, thank you. If this story touched you even a little, please hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to remember that miracles still happen. And if you're not subscribed yet, please consider it. This channel is my way of giving back, of telling stories of hope when the world feels too dark. Because I know what dark feels like. And I also know what the light feels like when a stranger becomes family. Don't cry, my friend. Maybe that man, or that woman, walking past you tomorrow is the answer to the prayer you haven't dared to say out loud. Keep your heart open. Keep hoping. With all my love. Anastasia Orlova. And Sophia, who is now 6 going on 16, and Dmitri, who still can't braid hair but makes the best blini in Moscow, Blue Heart Snowflake.